Welcome to English with Narayana. Today, we're going to be looking at something pretty cool, and I think it's going to help you a lot, which is thinking in English.
Yeah.
It's kind of like a secret trick to becoming more fluent, right? Like, instead of always translating in your head,
right?
Which I think a lot of people do.
Yeah, a lot of people translate in their heads, and that really can, slow you down when you're trying to speak.
It's kind of like you have that extra step in there.
Yeah.
And thinking directly in English helps you speak faster, and it makes you sound more natural.
Right.
So like imagine, you're chatting with someone and the words just kind of flow out.
Right.
That's kind of the goal we're going for.
Yeah, that's it.
And it might seem like kind of a huge challenge.
Yeah.
But we're going to give you some ideas to kind of get you started with that.
Sure.
So let's say, you want to grab a coffee.
Okay.
Instead of thinking, I want a cup of coffee in your native language.
Right.
To try thinking coffee time, in English.
Yes.
Just like that.
That's it.
That's it.
So it's really about just training your brain to use English for even the smallest things.
Yeah.
Like, if you're getting dressed and you see a sunny sky, you think, perfect weather for a t-shirt.
Yeah, exactly.
Not, translating it from your language into English.
Right.
You just think that in English immediately.
And these little changes might seem simple.
Right.
But they're actually really powerful.
Yeah, they are.
It's kind of like you're planting these seeds for a beautiful English garden in your mind.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
And so another thing that could really help with this is talking to yourself.
Oh, yeah.
In English, of course.
In English, of course.
So describe what you're doing as you do it.
Yeah.
Almost like you're narrating your own life.
Exactly.
So like if I'm cooking, I might say, okay, now I'm chopping the vegetables.
Right.
Next, I'll add the spices.
Yeah. Perfect.
Or I'm feeling tired today. Maybe I'll go to bed early.
That's it.
Something like that.
Yeah.
Just to get comfortable forming those sentences naturally.
Right.
And then another thing we talked about was, that inner voice in your head.
Right.
The one that's always thinking,
yeah.
What if we train that voice to speak English too?
Yeah, that's a great point.
Right.
It's about making English your default mode of thinking.
Right.
So if you're happy about something, instead of thinking it in your native language, think, this is amazing in English.
Yeah, like if you spill something, you might think, oops, that was clumsy.
Exactly.
Right. It's just about reacting to your day in English.
Exactly.
And speaking of surrounding yourself with English, think about all the media you consume, like movies, music, podcasts.
Sure.
Try switching to the English versions.
Yeah, as much as you can.
As much as you can.
That's right.
And again, this is about just making English a natural part of your life.
Yeah.
So you're constantly hearing it, you're absorbing it.
Right.
Even when you're not, actively sitting down to study.
Right.
So there's this fun challenge. I've heard about this before.
Yeah.
It's called the 5-minute English Blitz.
I love that.
I know, it sounds so intense.
It does.
So basically, you set a timer for 5 minutes each day.
Okay.
And you force yourself to think only in English during that time.
Okay. Yeah.
So, you could describe your day, plan your shopping list, anything like that.
That's good.
And the thing is, if you don't know a word in English, instead of translating it, try to explain it in English.
That's brilliant.
So if I can't remember umbrella, I'd be like, it's the thing that keeps you dry when it rains.
That's a great idea. Yeah.
And that will really get your brain thinking in English.
Yeah.
Now let's talk about mind maps.
Okay. Yeah.
Have you ever tried creating a mind map in English?
I have. Yeah. I actually think they're really helpful.
Yeah. It's like this visual web of words, right?
Yeah.
To help you connect different ideas and vocabulary.
Exactly. And it's a really great way to expand your vocabulary and understand how words relate to each other. Yeah. Like, for instance, if you're learning the word restaurant, you could create a mind map with other related words like menu, waiter, food, order, bill, tip, all these words that are connected to that.
That's so clever. I love that.
Yeah, it's really good.
Because instead of memorizing individual words, you're creating this whole network of meaning.
Exactly.
So all these things are great for, kind of getting your mind ready to think in English. Yeah. But remember, the most crucial part of all of this is to actually use your English.
Absolutely.
Like, speaking is the best way to train your brain to think and react in real time.
That's right.
So, find a language partner, join an online group.
Yeah, anything like that.
Or even just chat with yourself in the mirror.
That works too.
Whatever works for you.
Right.
But the more you speak, the more natural it will become.
Yeah.
For sure.
Absolutely.
So that's it for today's deep dive on thinking in English.
Okay, great.
I hope you got some really great ideas for how to start training your brain to think more in English.
Yeah, and if you're struggling, don't be discouraged.
Yeah.
Everybody goes through these challenges.
Of course.
And just keep practicing and you'll get there.
Yeah, and it's a journey, right? It's not a destination.
That's right.
So, just keep practicing, keep experimenting.
Yeah.
And most importantly, have fun with it.
Yeah, absolutely.
We'll see you next time for part 2 of this deep dive.
Okay, great.
Where we'll explore even more techniques and tips for thinking in English.
Sounds good.
Bye for now.
Bye.
Welcome back to English with Narayana. We're continuing our deep dive into thinking in English. In the last part, we talked about some practical techniques like talking to yourself, changing your inner voice.
And we explored some fun challenges like the 5-minute English blitz and creating mind maps in English.
Yeah, and remember the goal is to make English like your default mode of thinking. So it becomes as natural as, breathing.
Yeah.
But let's be honest, it's not always easy.
Right.
Sometimes you feel stuck or you forget a word right when you need it.
That's perfectly normal.
Yeah, it's so frustrating.
It happens to everyone, even native speakers.
Oh, definitely.
So
yeah,
don't worry about that too much.
Yeah, it's all part of the process.
Yeah.
The important thing is to not give up, right?
That's right.
Keep going.
Yeah, exactly.
It's kind of like learning to ride a bike. You know, you're going to wobble and maybe even fall a few times.
Of course.
But with practice, you find your balance.
You get
and you just, keep going.
Yeah.
So one of the biggest challenges I think people face is creating a supportive environment. Like if you're not living in an English-speaking country.
Yeah, that's true.
You might not have as many opportunities to use English, right?
That's right.
So how can we create that kind of English bubble, even if we're not surrounded by native speakers?
Yeah, well, I think it's good to think about the things that you do every day.
Yeah.
Could you change your phone settings to English?
Oh, yeah. That's a great idea.
Start listening to English music and podcasts more.
That's a good idea.
And
what about watching movies and TV shows?
Oh, of course, yeah.
I used to always rely on subtitles.
Right.
But now I try to watch in English as much as possible.
That's fantastic.
Yeah.
I mean, the more you expose yourself to English, the more natural it'll feel to think in it.
Yeah.
It's like learning by osmosis almost.
It's like immersing your brain in an English bath.
Exactly.
Right.
That's it.
And speaking of practice, we can't forget about the importance of actually speaking English.
Absolutely.
Like speaking forces you to think on your feet.
Yeah.
And use the language actively, right?
That's right.
It's the ultimate test.
It is, yeah.
Of your thinking skills.
Yeah.
But what if you're not confident enough to speak yet?
Yeah.
Or you're worried about making mistakes?
Well, you have to remember that mistakes are a natural part of the learning process.
Of course.
Yeah. Everyone makes them.
Yeah.
Think of them as stepping stones to fluency.
I love that. Stepping stones to fluency.
Yeah.
So instead of being afraid of mistakes, we should embrace them.
Absolutely.
As opportunities to learn.
That's it.
And there's so many ways to practice speaking, even if you don't have, native speaker friends nearby.
Sure.
Like you could join online language exchange groups, find a tutor.
Right. All kinds of things like that.
Or even record yourself speaking.
That's a good idea.
Yeah. Technology has made it so much easier to connect with other English learners.
Absolutely. Yeah.
And practice speaking. So.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Definitely.
Now, let's address those frustrating moments when your mind goes blank.
Right.
And you can't remember a word.
Yeah.
I think we've all been there.
We've all been there.
Those tip of the tongue moments. Yeah. It's so annoying.
It is.
So what can we do when that happens?
Well, first, try to stay calm,
Yeah.
Panicking will only make it worse.
Right.
And instead of giving up, try to describe the word that you're looking for.
Yeah.
Using other English words.
So like if I can't remember the word umbrella,
right,
I could say it's the thing you use to protect yourself from the rain.
Precisely.
Right.
Exactly.
It's the thing you use to.
Yeah. And that shows that you're thinking in English.
Yeah.
And you're actively trying to communicate your idea.
Right.
Even if you don't have the exact word.
Yeah, and sometimes just visualizing the word or thinking of related words.
Can help jog your memory, right?
That's a great tip.
Like, think of all the things that go with umbrella.
Yeah.
And maybe it will come to you.
Exactly. And if all else fails, don't be shy about asking for help.
Yeah. Excuse me, what's the word for?
That's right.
Right. It's okay to ask.
It's okay to ask.
Yeah.
And most people are happy to help.
Yeah, and it's a great way to learn new vocabulary.
Absolutely, yeah.
Okay, now let's talk about something a little bit fascinating.
Okay.
your inner monologue.
Right.
It sounds a bit mysterious.
Yeah, it's that, constant stream of thoughts and feelings we all have in our heads.
Yeah.
And by developing it in English, you're essentially making English a more integral part of your life.
Right. So how do we actually do that? It's not like we can just, tell our inner voice to switch languages.
Right. Well, you can start by consciously making an effort to think in English throughout the day, even for, mundane tasks.
Okay, so for example, while I'm brushing my teeth,
I could be thinking, okay, I'm putting toothpaste on my toothbrush.
Exactly.
Now I'm brushing my teeth.
That's it. Yeah.
Things like that.
Yeah, and you can narrate other parts of your day, too.
Right.
Like, I'm walking to the bus stop.
Yeah.
I wonder if the bus will be on time today.
It's like creating a running commentary of our lives in English.
Exactly, and the more you do that, the more practice you have,
right,
the more naturally your inner monologue will switch to English.
It's like training our brains to think in that English mode by default.
Exactly.
Now let's talk about something I think many language learners struggle with, which is negative thoughts and self-doubt.
Sure.
I think everyone experiences this at some point.
Of course, yeah.
It's easy to get discouraged, like when you feel like you're not progressing fast enough.
Yeah, it's easy to compare yourself to others,
yeah,
which you shouldn't do.
Right.
Comparison is the thief of joy, as they say.
That's so true.
Everybody learns at their own pace.
Yeah.
And there's no need to compare yourself to other people.
Yeah, we need to be kind to ourselves.
Yeah, absolutely.
Learning a new language is a challenge.
Yeah.
It's okay to make mistakes.
Of course.
And it's okay to not be perfect.
Exactly.
Right.
Yeah.
So instead of focusing on your shortcomings, celebrate your accomplishments, like even small victories, like ordering a coffee in English are worth celebrating, right? Well,
of course.
It's all about progress, not perfection.
Exactly.
And if you're feeling overwhelmed, try breaking down your goals into smaller steps, more manageable steps.
That's a great tip.
Right.
Yeah.
It's easier to stay motivated when you have like a clear roadmap.
Yeah.
And, those achievable milestones.
Absolutely.
So now let's explore the power of visualization.
Okay.
I ever heard of this?
Oh, yeah.
It's a technique where you create these vivid mental images to enhance your learning in your memory.
Absolutely. And it really helps.
So how can that help us think in English?
Well, imagine yourself in different situations where you need to use English.
Okay.
Picture yourself having a conversation with a native speaker.
Okay.
Ordering food at a restaurant. Giving a presentation.
Oh, okay. So it's like we're creating a mental movie.
Yeah, exactly.
Where we're the stars.
That's it.
Speaking English fluently and confidently.
Yeah, you got it.
Right. And the more vivid these images are, the more effective it will be.
That's right.
Like engage all of your senses.
Yeah.
Sight, sound, even smell and touch.
Absolutely.
It's like we're giving our brains a virtual reality experience.
Yeah, that's it.
In English.
Yeah.
Now, let's talk about expanding your emotional vocabulary.
Okay.
So being able to express your feelings in English will make your conversations more nuanced and meaningful.
Right.
Right. So it's not just about knowing words like happy and sad. It's about being able to express like a wider range of emotions.
Exactly. For instance, instead of just saying, I'm happy, you could say, I'm ecstatic, or I'm feeling content.
Oh, yeah. Or instead of saying, I'm sad, you could say, I'm feeling down, or I'm heartbroken.
Precisely. And by expanding your emotional vocabulary, you'll be able to articulate your feelings more accurately.
Yes.
And connect with others on a deeper level.
It's like we're adding more colors to our English palette.
Yeah, exactly. That's a great way to put it.
And speaking of connections, let's talk about understanding cultural nuances.
Right.
So language and culture, they go hand in hand.
They do. Yeah, they're inseparable.
Yeah. So to truly master English, it's crucial to understand the cultural context in which it's spoken.
Yeah.
So it's not just about grammar and vocabulary.
Right.
It's about understanding the customs, the values, the humor.
Yeah, humor is a good example.
Yeah.
Because humor can be very culture specific. What might be considered funny in one culture could be offensive or confusing in another culture.
Absolutely.
And idioms
and
slang expressions often have cultural roots as well.
Right. That might not be obvious to non-native speakers.
Exactly. So it's important to be aware of those things.
So how can we develop our understanding of these cultural nuances?
Well, one way is to immerse yourself in English-speaking cultures.
Okay.
travel to English-speaking countries, if possible.
Yeah.
Or interact with native speakers online.
Okay.
Things like that.
And what about, watching movies, TV shows?
Oh, of course.
Listening to podcasts?
Yeah, that can help a lot as well.
Yeah.
It gives you insights into cultural norms and behaviors.
Yeah.
And another helpful tip is to read books and articles about English-speaking cultures.
So it's about being curious.
Absolutely.
And open.
Yeah.
To learning about different ways of life.
Precisely. And the more you understand these cultural nuances, the more natural and authentic your English will sound.
Yeah, it's like adding another layer of depth
to
our language skills, right?
Really.
Okay, so now let's talk about developing your critical thinking skills in English.
Okay.
Critical thinking, what does that even mean?
Well, it involves analyzing information. Evaluating arguments, and forming your own opinions.
So it's not just about passively absorbing information.
Right.
It's about actively engaging with it.
Exactly.
And questioning assumptions.
Yeah, that's it.
Right.
Yeah.
And this is so important because it helps you become a more effective communicator.
Absolutely.
And a more informed citizen.
That's right.
Right.
Yeah.
So how can we develop these critical thinking skills in English?
Well, one way is to read a variety of materials on different topics and perspectives.
Okay, so don't just stick to one news source or one genre.
That's right.
It's about exposing ourselves to different viewpoints and challenging our own beliefs.
Exactly.
Right, yeah. Okay, and another helpful tip is to participate in discussions and debates in English.
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
So like online forums and discussion groups.
That's right. Yeah, those can be really good platforms for practicing your critical thinking skills.
And remember, it's okay to disagree with others.
Of course.
As long as we do so respectfully.
Absolutely.
And constructively.
That's right.
Right.
Yeah.
So it's about having that healthy skepticism.
Yeah.
And being willing to question assumptions.
Exactly.
Now let's shift gears a bit
and
talk about developing your creativity in English.
All right.
Now, you might be thinking, creativity, how does that relate to language learning?
Right. Well, creativity involves thinking outside the box, generating new ideas, and expressing yourself in original ways.
So it's not just about following those rules and conventions.
Yeah.
It's about using language as a tool for imagination.
Yeah.
And innovation.
That's it.
Right.
Yeah.
And when we do this, it makes language learning more enjoyable.
Absolutely.
And more rewarding.
That's right.
So how can we cultivate this creativity in English?
Well, one way is to engage in activities that stimulate your imagination.
Okay.
Such as writing stories.
Oh, yeah.
Poems or songs in English.
And, even just brainstorming ideas.
Yeah.
And coming up with creative solutions to problems.
Precisely.
Like those everyday problems that we encounter.
That's right.
Right.
Yeah.
Another helpful tip is to play word games and puzzles.
Oh, yeah.
In English.
Those are fun.
I love word games.
Yeah, me too.
They're so fun.
They are.
And they're a fun way to expand our vocabulary.
Absolutely, yeah.
And think creatively.
That's right.
Right.
Yeah.
And remember, there's no right or wrong way to be creative.
That's true.
Just let your imagination run wild and have fun with it.
That's it, yeah.
Okay, so now let's talk about developing your problem-solving skills in English.
Okay.
Problem-solving skills.
So problem-solving involves identifying challenges, analyzing information, and finding solutions.
So it's about using our critical thinking skills to overcome obstacles.
Exactly.
And achieve our goals.
That's it.
And this can help us not only in our language learning journey, but also in other areas of our lives.
Of course. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
So how can we develop our problem-solving skills in English?
Well, one way is to practice solving puzzles and riddles.
Oh, I love a good brain teaser.
Yeah, me too.
They're so fun.
They are.
And they're a great way to challenge our thinking.
Absolutely.
And improve our problem-solving abilities.
That's right.
Another helpful tip is to participate in group discussions and brainstorming sessions.
Yeah, those are good.
In English, right?
Yeah.
So it's about working collaboratively with others.
Right.
To find solutions to problems.
And
remember, there's no one-size-fits-all approach to problem solving.
That's true.
Right.
Yeah.
The best approach often depends on the specific situation.
That's right.
So it's about being adaptable
and
thinking creatively to find the most effective solution.
Exactly.
Now, let's talk about developing your self-awareness in English.
Okay.
Self-awareness, what is that?
So self-awareness involves understanding your own thoughts, feelings, motivations, and behaviors.
So it's about having this deep understanding of ourselves.
Yeah.
And how we interact with the world around us.
Exactly.
And this can help us become a more effective communicator.
Absolutely.
And a more compassionate person.
That's right.
Right.
Yeah.
So how can we develop our self-awareness in English?
Well, one way is to practice mindfulness in English.
Mindfulness, I've heard of that.
Yeah.
But I'm not sure how it applies to language learning.
So mindfulness involves paying attention to the present moment without judgment.
Okay.
So you're just fully present and aware of your thoughts, feelings, and bodily sensations.
So just being present in the moment.
That's it.
Right.
Yeah.
And we can do that in English by simply noticing our thoughts and feelings as they arise and labeling them in English.
Exactly. So for example, you could think, I'm feeling anxious, or I'm noticing that my heart is racing.
Oh, okay.
Things like that.
So we're just naming those things as they come up in English.
Exactly.
Another helpful tip is to reflect on your experiences and interactions in English.
That's right.
So like I could write in my journal about how I felt during a conversation or what I learned from a particular situation.
Precisely. And by doing that, you'll gain a deeper understanding of yourself and how you communicate with others.
It's like holding up a mirror to our thoughts and behaviors.
Yeah, that's a good way to put it.
In English.
Exactly.
Now, let's talk about developing your resilience in English. Resilience. Now, this is important.
It is, yeah.
Yeah.
Resilience involves bouncing back from setbacks, challenges, and adversity.
So it's about having that mental strength to overcome those obstacles.
That's it.
And keep moving forward.
Yeah.
This is so crucial for language learning.
It is.
Because it can help us stay motivated and achieve our goals.
Absolutely.
Even when we're faced with, difficulties.
Yeah, that's right.
So how can we develop this resilience in English?
Well, one way is to reframe negative experiences as learning opportunities.
Okay, so instead of viewing mistakes as failures, we can see them as valuable lessons.
Exactly.
Right.
That's it.
Okay, another helpful tip is to surround yourself with positive and supportive people.
Yeah, absolutely. That's so important.
Like having people who believe in us and encourage us can make a world of difference.
Of course it does.
When we're feeling discouraged.
Yeah, absolutely.
Right.
Okay.
And remember, resilience is not something you're born with.
That's true.
It's a skill that you can develop over time.
That's right.
With practice.
Yeah, exactly.
So it's about training our minds to bounce back from those setbacks and keep striving towards our goals.
Absolutely.
Now, let's talk about developing your self-confidence in English.
Okay.
Now, self-confidence is essential for effective communication.
It is, yeah.
And for personal growth.
Right.
Right. And it's something that you can cultivate.
Absolutely.
With practice. And positive self-talk.
Exactly.
So how can we boost our self-confidence in English?
Well, one way is to focus on your strengths and accomplishments.
Okay. So instead of dwelling on our weaknesses, we should celebrate our progress.
Absolutely.
And acknowledge how far we've come.
That's right.
Another helpful tip is to set realistic goals.
Yeah.
And track our progress.
That's a great idea.
So by breaking down our language learning journey into smaller, more achievable steps, we can avoid feeling overwhelmed and maintain that sense of accomplishment.
That's right.
Right. And remember, self-confidence is not about being perfect.
That's true.
It's about believing in your ability to learn, to grow, and to communicate effectively. In English. Right?
Exactly.
So it's about having that positive attitude and a willingness to embrace the learning process.
Absolutely.
Now, let's talk about developing your empathy in English.
Okay.
Empathy. Now, this is a really interesting one.
It is, yeah.
So empathy involves understanding and sharing the feelings of others.
That's right.
So it's about putting ourselves in other people's shoes.
Exactly.
And seeing the world from their perspective.
That's it.
And this is so important because it helps us build stronger relationships.
Absolutely.
And communicate more effectively across cultures.
Yeah, that's right.
Right.
Yeah.
So how can we develop our empathy in English?
Well, one way is to actively listen to others.
Okay.
And try to understand their point of view.
So instead of interrupting or formulating our own responses, we should focus on truly hearing what the other person is saying.
Precisely.
Another helpful tip is to read stories and watch movies.
Yeah, that's a good one.
That explore different perspectives and cultures.
Yeah, that's a good idea.
Right.
Yeah.
So it's about immersing ourselves in these narratives that challenge our own beliefs
and assumptions. That's it.
So we can broaden our understanding of the human experience.
Exactly. And remember, empathy is not about agreeing with everyone or condoning harmful behavior.
It's about understanding where people are coming from.
That's right.
And responding with compassion.
Exactly.
Right.
Yeah.
So it's about opening our hearts and minds to the experiences of others.
Absolutely.
Now, let's talk about developing your self-discipline in English.
Okay.
Self-discipline. Now, this is something that I think many language learners struggle with.
Yeah, I think so too.
Especially when it comes to staying motivated.
Yeah.
Consistent with our studies.
That's right.
Right.
Yeah.
So self-discipline is essential for achieving our goals.
Absolutely.
Whether it's learning a new language, mastering a skill, or simply forming healthy habits.
That's right.
Right.
Yeah.
So it's about having that willpower to do what needs to be done, even when we don't feel like it.
Yeah. Even when it's hard.
Even when it's hard.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
And developing this self-discipline in English can help us stay on track with our learning journey.
Absolutely.
And make consistent progress.
That's right.
Right.
Yeah.
So how can we cultivate this self-discipline in English?
Well, one way is to set clear goals.
Okay.
And create a structured study plan.
Okay. So by breaking down our goals into smaller, more manageable steps.
Exactly.
We can avoid feeling overwhelmed.
That's right.
And stay motivated.
Yeah.
Another helpful tip is to create a supportive environment for yourself.
That's a good idea.
Right. So surround ourselves with people who encourage our language learning.
Yeah.
And minimize those distractions that might hinder our progress.
Exactly.
And remember, self-discipline is not about being perfect.
That's true.
Or punishing yourself for slip-ups.
Yeah, it's about progress, not perfection.
Right.
Yeah.
It's about making conscious choices that align with our values and our goals.
And that's it.
So it's about having a healthy balance between structure and flexibility.
Absolutely.
Now let's talk about developing your curiosity in English.
Okay.
Curiosity. Now this is a really powerful one.
It is, yeah.
So curiosity is a driving force for learning and growth.
That's true.
Right. It's about having that thirst for knowledge.
Right.
And a willingness to explore new ideas. And experiences.
Absolutely.
Right.
Yeah.
And when we cultivate this curiosity in English, it makes language learning more engaging.
Absolutely.
And more rewarding.
Yeah, that's right.
So how can we nurture our curiosity in English?
Well, one way is to ask questions.
Okay.
And seek out new information.
Don't be afraid to ask why or how.
That's right. Yeah.
Right. And explore topics that interest you.
Yeah.
Even if they're outside your comfort zone.
Exactly.
Another helpful tip is to engage in activities that stimulate your curiosity.
Yeah. Like what?
Like reading books.
Yeah. Books are great.
Watching documentaries.
Yeah.
Or attending lectures in English.
Yeah, those are all great.
Right. So it's about actively seeking out those opportunities to learn.
Yeah, exactly.
And expand our knowledge.
That's it.
Welcome back to English with Narayana. It's amazing how much we've already talked about with thinking in English.
Yeah, we've explored a lot, haven't we?
Yeah, so many techniques.
Yeah.
And we've also tackled, I think, some of those common challenges that learners face, right?
Right.
So from, talking to yourself and changing that inner voice to creating that English bubble around you and embracing those mistakes.
Yeah.
We've really kind of dug deep into this whole topic.
Absolutely.
And let's not forget about visualization, expanding your emotional vocabulary.
Right.
Understanding those cultural nuances.
Yeah.
And developing those, crucial skills like critical thinking and problem solving, all in English.
That's right.
It's been quite a journey.
It has.
I hope you're feeling inspired.
Yeah.
To start putting these ideas into practice.
Absolutely.
So remember, the key is to, make English just an integral part of your life, even beyond your dedicated study time.
Right. Yeah.
It's about those small, consistent efforts that really add up over time.
Yeah.
And create those lasting changes,
Really.
It's like we talked about before. Think of it like building a muscle.
Yeah.
The more you use it,
right,
the stronger it gets.
It gets easier.
Exactly. And speaking of strength, we also explore the importance of self-compassion, self-belief, and resilience on this language learning journey, right? Because let's face it, there will be days when you feel discouraged.
Oh, of course.
Or frustrated.
Yeah.
That's totally normal.
That's part of the process.
It is. It's part of the process, right?
Yeah.
But it's during those times that it's crucial to be kind to yourself. Remember your goals.
Absolutely.
And just keep believing in your ability to learn and grow. Right.
That's it.
And don't forget, the power of curiosity.
Oh, yeah.
Keep asking those questions, exploring those new topics.
Absolutely.
Pushing yourself beyond that comfort zone.
Yeah, the more curious you are, the more engaging and rewarding your language learning experience will be.
For sure. So we've covered a lot of ground in this deep dive, but I want to leave you with one final thought.
Okay.
Thinking in English is not just about mastering a language. It's about opening up a whole new world of possibilities.
That's a great way to put it, yeah.
Imagine being able to connect with people from different cultures, share your ideas with confidence, experience the world through this new lens.
Absolutely.
It's about breaking down those barriers, expanding your horizons, and embracing the beauty of human connection through language.
That's beautiful.
So keep practicing, keep exploring, and just keep that English flowing in your mind.
Yeah, absolutely. Keep going.
Thank you so much for joining us on this incredible deep dive into thinking in English.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
I hope you found it valuable and inspiring. Be sure to subscribe to our channel for more helpful tips and insights.
Great.
We'll see you in the next episode.